Welcome back, everyone, to Money Moves by KTVAECU. I'm your host, Molly.
And I'm Caroline.
And today we are talking about something that a lot of us are curious about, but maybe a little scared to talk about.
Yeah, today we are tackling credit cards.
Welcome to Money Moves Podcast, the financial podcast without all the fluff. We're Molly and Caroline, two financial marketing coworkers turned besties, and we're here to help you take control of your cash.
We'll break down everything you need to know to make smart money moves and hopefully not bore you to death.
Think of us as your financial hype squad, bringing you real stories and tips to help you start stacking your cash.
So let's start making those money moves.
We are not financial experts. We are just two regular people. Always do your own research and ask a professional for personalized advice.
Before we jump into our beautiful episode today, where we're talking about credit cards, we have to talk about the elephant in the room.
Oh, no.
Did anyone see in last week's episode what kept appearing on Molly's face?
I don't know, but it was large and in charge, Mr. Green.
Yeah. The cups have been mandated to stay back here, so they will be staying back here. This is their spots now with their coordinated pigs.
Okay, let's jump into
enough
credit
of that.
cards.
Let's
Enough
jump
of that.
in.
It's time to get serious.
Yeah,
to talk
let's
about
get
credit cards.
serious.
All right, so credit card. Let's start with what is a credit card. I know that sounds basic, but we did it with debit card. I feel like we have to give tribute to credit card.
Yes, 100%. I also feel like we got a decent amount of questions from the ETSU students that we were visiting about credit cards. So I think we have a clip that we can insert right here.
What is a money topic that you feel least confident about or you would want to know more about?
Right now I'm confident about it, but I can talk about what I wasn't and what people struggle with. It would be credit cards. People just don't understand it, and I did not, but now I do. So, yeah.
How did you learn about what a credit card was and how it worked?
When I started spending money on it, and I paid it off like fast, and then like my credit, and then also my dad. Like dads will like bug you on them. So yeah. So my dad.
So let's talk about it. What is a credit card, Molly? How about you tell us what a credit card is?
So a credit card is a loan. So think of it like you're borrowing money from the credit card company, and then you have to pay it back over time. And normally you're approved for a specific limit, and the cost of having the loan is the interest that you have to pay on it every month if you don't pay off the balance in full. So basically it's just another way to pay, but you're using someone else's money to make that payment that you have to pay back.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So when you talk about credit cards, how does spending that credit limit work? You just swipe the card, that's all you have to do?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, just like you would use your debit card, you can swipe, tap, all the ways to pay.
Yeah.
Add it to your digital wallet, which is my personal favorite. And the thing about credit cards is it comes down to just being disciplined. Like, I think credit cards get a bad rap. Because
I agree.
It's like, no, credit cards are bad. Credit cards are bad. And the credit card is not bad.
Yeah.
Maybe the person using it is not responsible.
Yeah.
So I do think there's some like learning and best practices that we can kind of talk about to help you avoid getting in that trap of a credit card.
Yes.
But credit cards are really a good tool for many different things. Like for me personally, my first credit card was really helpful in helping me build my credit.
I was about to say, I think credit cards, like you said, they get a bad rap, but they are probably one of the most empowering things that you can do for your finances once you figure out your methodology and what works for you.
Yeah.
I think that's also why we didn't just like jump straight into this topic. We wanted to kind of build the foundational building blocks of, this is how you budget, this is how you do this. And then once you get to a more advanced level, that's when you can work in things like a credit card to really start making those money moves, as some would say. But I think depending on the type of credit card that you go for, they can really, really be an asset to your arsenal of financial wins.
So we talked about it in building credit. And one thing I want to kind of bring up about your first credit card is really look into your very first credit card. Because I did not.
Yeah.
I just got the first credit card. I was like, oh, this will be great. Unfortunately, that credit card has an annual fee. Ooh. So every year I have paid this annual fee. But you may ask, well, why do you still have it? Because it's my very first credit card.
Yeah.
And it's so good for my credit score to have that length of history of how long I've had it. So I hate to close it for that reason. I wish I had went to the credit union to get my very first credit card, or one that at least has a better reward system for using it.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that. So that's like one thing, if I could say, here's one word of advice for first-time credit card person. Research the credit cards and find one that has no annual fee, number one.
Yeah.
And then number two, look at the rewards, because you're probably going to want to keep it for a really long time.
Yeah, 100%. That is a great tip. I actually didn't look at the annual fee at all when I started looking for credit cards. My mom basically was like, I was very thankful to be led by her on that journey when I was stepping out on my own in college for the first time. And she was basically like, this is one that has been really successful and you're going to sign up for this one essentially.
Yeah.
So once I was approved, we just started putting my gas purchases from college, because I went to college a little bit further away. So they were like, let's start with baby steps. So that was my first credit card. Low risk, low reward, like honestly. So there's no annual fee, but there's also not a lot of rewards that came with the credit card. Because I feel like sometimes when they have one of those annual fees or a higher fee associated with it, then you get into some of the juicier rewards programs.
Yeah.
So mine has no annual fee, but it also has like minuscule cashback rewards. So that's kind of how I built mine up. And I actually didn't get a credit limit increase on my first card that I've had for almost over 10 years at this point until this year.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I agree. That first card is going to be really important though, because that is what you need to create that length of time on your credit history, which is super important.
I love that you pointed out your mom, because the ETSU student was like, my dad helped me set mine up, which is so true. Like, your parents be coming through.
Yeah. And you can take their recommendation to do research on your own. You know, I was just, like I said, very thankful to have my mom say, this is the one we should go with.
Yeah. I think it's important to consider for building credit too, because it shows that to lenders that you can be trusted to make your payment over time. Like, that's the whole point of credit, your report. So it builds your credit. It shows that you can make payments over a period of time. And the one thing about credit cards, they do have an interest rate. So you want to shop around and find the best rate, best deal for you. But you can avoid that by paying the complete payment every month, the full balance every month. So don't compromise your like having to pay the interest rate for your rewards.
Yeah.
Like, you need to make that full balance payment every month in order to avoid those interest charges.
Yeah. I think that's getting us a little bit into like the myth busting of credit cards that we wanted to do, which is, you can very easily fall into the cycle of getting a little behind on a credit card. And like you said, that interest rate really only bites you when you are not paying in full.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest things that I think people misunderstand about credit cards.
Yeah. So just to kind of break it down even more, you get your first credit card, you go to the credit union or wherever you've decided this is the best credit card for me, you make your first purchase on it. I use my credit card for everything.
Yeah.
But when I was first starting out, I didn't. I used it for like planned purchases. You used yours for gas. So then you need to make that payment and pay off the full balance in order to avoid those interest charges. And like you were saying, I know it can get easy to get into that cycle of just, I'll just pay the minimum monthly payment. And you can, but you have to know that you're going to get those interest charges. And that's where the trap or the bad view of credit cards can come in. But if you use it responsible and you stick to your budget and do all those things, it's fine. It's great.
Yeah. I think another thing is like paying it off every single month is the best practice. That's what we're saying.
Absolutely.
But there are circumstances where you might have to leave a little bit hanging. And as long as you're aware that that interest is happening and you're making the effort to try to pay off that balance as fast as you can, and you just know what that interest rate is, I think that's also key, is being aware if that interest rate moves at all. Because I know that my card, when I first opened one of my cards, it was like a 17%, which is really, really high, but that was just one of my cards. And I looked recently and it was like up to 24.
Yeah.
So that's also just knowing what interest rate is going to hit the hanging amount is just part of, like Molly was saying before, that willpower, that that control over your finances, just having the awareness of knowing what's happening with the interest rates.
It's really great if you can find a credit card that has a fixed interest rate. So you were just talking about what they call a variable interest rate, which means the rate can change at any given time depending on things in the world. But a fixed interest rate means it is fixed. It's going to stay that amount.
Yeah.
So that's another.
I didn't even know that existed when I first opened my credit card.
No,
I was like, this can move.
Let's just get it. Okay, so why else would someone need a credit card, or why should you care about having a credit card?
I think another reason that people have credit cards is also in case of emergencies. So I think that's why it's also super important to build up that history and to get those limit increases so that if you want to use it for those purposes, that it is ready and it has the balance to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that, you don't want to think about those emergency type cases, but like if you're out in the middle of nowhere and for whatever reason your debit card has been turned off, you need a way to get a tow truck. I don't know, whatever. Not to be morbid or anything. A credit card is a good backup plan if you need something in an emergency. Or maybe your debit card, maybe you just don't have the funds available right then in your bank account. So it can really come in useful for those moments in life where it's like, oh man, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I was about to say that definitely happened to me when I was first starting out, and I had a little sick puppy, and a trip to the vet was much more expensive than I anticipated. But luckily, able to budget the next month, but it just wasn't there for me that month. So I agree. It's a very powerful tool for those emergency moments in your life that you might not see coming, or you never know where you're going to end up in life.
Yeah. Another good reason to have it too, is kind of along the same lines, is whenever you get to that age where you want to start renting a vehicle or renting a condo to go to the beach, sometimes they require a credit card on file.
Yeah.
And it's just good to have as an option as opposed to your debit card. Like, it just depends on the vendor, really.
Oh, that's such a good point. I didn't even think of that, because sometimes you get temporary holds placed on your card, whichever card you're using when you're utilizing services like that. And it is so scary when you're like, why is that huge charge just pending on my debit card? Like, that is really scary. That's so funny that you bring that up. We had that happen just recently when we were traveling to Arizona. That my husband did use his debit card, and I was like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? And he was like, I don't know. And luckily we called the car rental company, and they were like, oh, we'll take that right off. But like, it was a scary moment where we're like, whoa,
what is this charge? So it's just one of those things, like, you don't want to have that freak out moment while you're traveling on vacation.
Yeah, because the car rental company for us was going to hold it the entire vacation. They're just like a hold as a security hold. And I'm like, whoa, no, that does not need to be pending right there on your debit card. No.
Yeah. So another good reason.
Yeah. Definitely like safety and security. I would say segueing it into that. That's another good reason is for if you are worried about security on your account, I think a credit card is a way to like, you can easily fight fraud on a credit card. Not that you can't on a debit card, but it just removes it from your personal account. If you want to view it that way too, which I know a lot of people do.
Yeah. That's kind of like part of the reason why I use a credit card I literally put all my monthly expenses on it, pay it off at the end of the month. The reason I do that is because, let's say my credit card gets compromised and this person spends, $50,000. I don't know. Something stupid. Well, at that point, even though your debit card, whoever you bank with, they're going to protect you and help you fight that. At least at that point, it's still on the credit card company. I still have my money separate. I still have bills I have to pay. I might need cash for something else. But the reversal of that, like, what if my debit card got compromised and went $50,000?
Yeah, that's scary.
I mean, even though I know that I'm protected and the credit union's going to help me take care of it, I don't have anything. If I need it. So that's why I always use my credit card first. It's like my first go-to. Versus a debit card, because I'm spending their money first, even though I have to pay back. Versus my money first.
I completely agree with that. Another thing that I wanted to touch on as you're talking is we're talking about, large charges coming out. I think we kind of skipped over this in best practices, but another best practice is don't max out your card. That is something that you want to avoid. And I don't know if you've ever heard this, so I wanted to ask you, and this might just be like, I have heard this from my family. Have you ever been told to only utilize half of your credit limit at any point in time?
No, but I want to talk about credit utilization.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding out there of like what that means. And basically, credit utilization is how much money you are spending on your credit card.
Yes.
So the best rule or the rule of thumb is stay 30% or less, because that can impact your credit score too.
Yes, yeah.
Like if you max out your credit card, that hurts your credit score.
Yes.
So if you have a credit card that has $1,000 limit, let's say, you want to keep the balance of that credit card, if you carry a balance, $300 or less, so that it's not using up the utilization of that card and negatively impacting your credit score.
See, I did know that. I had just never heard this except for from my parents, is like when you're making charges each month that you are paying off, to keep it below 50% so that they'll increase your spending limit.
I mean, that's probably a possibility.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's true or not. Money myth busting session, IRL.
I think so, because like I feel like every time I pay off my balance, it seems like it's like I get something in my email that's like, oh, did you know? Or oh, we've bumped you up another $2,000. And it's like, I don't need no more spending money.
Yeah. So with my first credit card, what I did is we literally would only let the gas go up to a certain point. But I mean,
gotcha.
it wasn't a ton of. It was never reaching that halfway point.
Yeah.
But my mom was like, you have to keep it below the halfway point, or else it won't increase your spending limit. I was like, is this true? I don't know if this is true.
I think it depends on the merchant or the carrier, like the card carrier.
Yeah, that makes
Like
sense.
Credit union or some of those
Yeah.
other big ones that you hear out there.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
One of the big dogs.
And then rewards is another, like,
Yeah.
I know we touched it a little bit, but you can really capitalize on rewards. Like you said earlier, just be sure you research, because you can make those rewards work for you.
Yep.
And really come out with some really cool things like cash back, travel points. I mean, there's so many different rewards out there. Just be mindful that some of those cards that have the big rewards also have a big annual fees. So just research when you're looking at those options.
Yeah, that's a good reminder, because I haven't opened a credit card in a minute, and I have completely forgotten about annual fees.
I know.
Because I don't have any cards with them.
Right, except for my one. That one I still have.
It's that long one.
Okay, I want to talk about myths. Like
Okay.
you mentioned it, but like let's dive into some myths.
Okay. Hit me.
First one. Credit cards always lead to debt.
False.
I mean, that's true. You're correct.
Yeah.
It's that seems
This
opposite.
is not a true or false session, but I'm turning it into one.
Okay, why do you say that?
Because if they're utilized properly, like we were talking about, they don't always lead to debt. I think you can very easily get caught in the cycle of it all,
Sure.
And fall behind. But it's not, you can get out of that cycle first and foremost, and second, like I was saying before at the intro, they're a really powerful tool to build your credit, to take control of your finances, and to make them work for you.
Yeah.
If you are educated going into it and you know what's coming down the pipe.
I also think it's about like setting boundaries for yourself.
Yes.
Like, you know,
It's just like budgeting.
it's the same.
Yeah.
Just on the loan side of the world.
Yep.
I agree. Okay. Myth 2. You must carry a balance to build credit.
False.
Correct. You are correct.
That took me a second.
Yeah.
I was like, wait
And I've
a
heard
minute.
this from so many people that you have to carry a balance every month for 3 months, 6 months, whatever, in order to build credit. But that's just not true, because let's say you use your card, you pay it off every month. That's still helping your credit, because you're showing that you're being responsible. You're building your credit history. So when you go to a lender and they look, they're like, Caroline, you made your payments every month on time. So it does still build your credit.
Yeah, it does. And I shout out to one of my friends, but they got their first credit card and have been terrified to use it. And I'm like, just spend it on one thing, pay it off, and then just let
There
it
you
sit
go.
if you're scared. Like
Yeah.
it's not hurting you, because the conversation that was overheard was between her and her significant other, and he was like, well, that's hurting your credit score. And I'm like, no, it's not.
No, it's not
It's not hurting it to not use it.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to use it.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead and
Yeah.
make that first purchase. But
We'll be sure to send them the link as soon as this episode is out.
oh, you know it.
Okay, one more myth for you.
Okay.
Credit cards are only for emergencies.
Oh, false.
Yeah, we've already
Yeah.
debunked that right off the bat. Yeah, credit cards are good for just different things that
I
you may
think
need.
they're good for emergency situations, but
Sure.
they're not only for emergency situations.
Yeah. So let's talk about tips to help you make your card work for you. Because
Okay.
your friend had the scaries. A lot of us have scaries with that first card.
That first card is scary.
Yeah. So let's talk about here's some tips to help you start on the right track with your first credit card.
Yeah. I would say the first tip we've already kind of talked about several times, and it is the best practice, is to, always pay your bill on time if you can.
Yeah.
If you can. I add that, but that's the number one tip.
It really plays a big role into your
does.
credit score. And plus you get more fees if you don't pay it on time. So just pay your bill on time, period.
Yeah, period. Pay your bill on time.
Another one, which we talked about, we're just recapping here. Are you guys learning yet? What we're trying to do?
We're repeating.
Keep your utilization low. So don't go max out that credit card just because you got a credit card.
Yep. I'm like, absolutely true. Keep it underneath that 30%, like you're talking about. We'll figure out what the 50% my mom was talking about means, but keep it under that 30% is the key for utilization and how that builds up your score.
Yep. I would also say set up an automatic payment for the minimum, at least the minimum monthly payment. Because that way, if you're somebody that's forgetful, or maybe you haven't established your budget good yet, at least that minimum payment will get paid and you don't have to worry about the late fees and stuff.
That's a really good tip that I think we should touch on a little bit further is, that minimum payment and setting up the automatic payment. If you don't do that, that does affect your credit score. If you miss that payment, that will affect your credit score, which I don't think we've said yet this episode. So make sure you're at least paying the minimum. If you are in the cycle of trying to pay off some credit card debt. Make sure you pay at least the minimum.
I think one thing that was really eye-opening to me when I got one of those first credit cards is, it's like, oh, my minimum monthly payment's only like $35. Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
But if you flip on the back of your statement or scroll down, if you're looking at it online, it'll say, let's say you charge $1,500 or whatever. It's like, oh, my payment's only $35. But if you look, it'll do a estimation calculation. And my very first credit card was 25 years to pay this off.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So be careful with that minimum payment. I would recommend not just making the minimum payment. If that's all you can do, that's great. But if you can do more, that way you can get that balance paid off.
Yeah.
But best practice, just pay it off every month.
Yeah. That is the best practice. I would also say another and final tip is kind of already what we've been saying is to use a budget. Use your credit card as a budgeting tool, and that will really help in your personal finance arsenal.
Yeah. So let's talk about something that I've been seeing a lot, as I'm making all of my purchases here lately, after coming out of Christmas and then we got New Year's, all that. It's the buy now, pay later.
Oof.
And so I know that sometimes we've gotten questions just here at the credit union about it. Should you do it? Is it worth it? So let's talk about that.
Yeah. I almost see buy now, pay later as something that's not comparable to a credit card, even though I can see where the common misconception comes in that it will build your credit. It will not build your credit.
No.
It will not build your credit at all. I've personally used it, but I am also aware that it doesn't affect my credit score.
Yeah. So the difference in that and a credit card is that with your credit card, you make those monthly payments and it's getting reported to the credit bureaus to build your credit.
Yep.
With those BNPLs, they are not necessarily always reporting to anybody. So you're not getting that history.
Yep.
And you want to get credit for, doing good and paying your bills and all that. So if it were me, I would recommend using a credit card.
Yep.
A lot of times too with buy now, pay laters, credit cards have deadlines too, but some of those can be really weird and strict with their rules and how you pay and when and how.
A lot of them are weekly, bi-weekly, and they are set amounts. I typically only utilize that when I'm making a purchase through my debit card that's big, and I want to break it up into chunks. I'm oh, that's fine, and I don't want to put that on a credit card.
One thing that it kind of reminds me of, I'm going to go old school for a minute because I don't even know that this even exists anywhere in the world, but it reminds me of layaway.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, that's exactly what it is. It's modern layaway.
Modern day electronic layaway. The Kmart special layaway.
Yeah, no, that's a really good comparison, I think.
Yeah.
Do the youngins out there even know what layaway is?
I mean, we might have just got canceled. I don't even know.
No, but that's such a good comparison because that's essentially what it is. Because I know a lot of them advertise as like interest-free payment installments, and that's essentially what BNLP. How did you say that so fast? Buy now, pay laters are
BNPL.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's what they are. But if you're wanting to make a purchase like that and have it, you can make the on-time payments, you might as well put it on your credit card because that will build your credit history, honestly.
Yeah. Get the credit for doing that and help your credit.
Get the credit for doing the on-time payments. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, these are all like really great tips. I wish I had researched and known before I got my first credit card.
Same.
Because I feel like I would have definitely picked a different credit card. Okay. First of all, pass Molly, get it together.
Get it together.
But use these, like research. I know we threw a lot at you and we busted some myths, but we really just wanted to help you guys start on the right track when it comes to selecting your first credit card or any credit card for that matter.
Yeah. And if you have any more questions about credit cards and we need to do a part 2, email us at podcast@tvacreditunion.com because I feel like you could go forever on credit cards, honestly. And we might have glossed over something or said something too many times. So please let us know what you would like to learn about credit cards.
Yeah. All right. What you got next?
Next up is coin toss, which if you've watched our past episodes, you know that we are going to flip this coin. And whoever wins the coin toss gets to talk about a dealer's choice topic, whether that is another money myth busting, even though we've been pretty much doing that the whole episode.
Yes.
A credit card confessional we could talk about. What else do we talk about? We talk about
Saver Splurge.
Saver Splurge. That's honestly probably the one we do most frequently.
Our favorite.
Yeah, it is our favorite. And the loser, so winner picks a topic and the loser has to do a weekly money win, which is not really a loss, but we do what we can.
Exactly.
Okay.
You ready?
Are you calling it?
No, it's your toss. Your toss, my call.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Ready? Tails.
Ooh.
Heads.
This is so exciting because
it's
Molly
about
and
time.
I was about to say, I felt like a loser for the past few weeks. So this is good.
I'm always having to deliver over here.
And I'm really glad because at the start of the episode, I mentioned something which you just picked up and put down that I would like to speak about.
Cheers.
My Saver Splurge. This is going to be a very controversial topic, but I want to bust over consumption myths with this one.
Okay.
I regret the Stanley purchase.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
We need to break this down.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. No, this is big. This is big.
Question 1.
Yeah.
Is it specifically Stanley?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, unpack that.
Okay. I always feel the need to jump onto trends super duper early.
I know this about you.
I'm an early adapter and I also get really bad FOMO. So I hate being left out of things so badly. I got my big orange Stan, which is at home, when they were really popping off, right?
Okay, yeah.
I feel like I shouldn't have gotten it because so many better water bottles came out because of Stanley. Like, it takes everything in me to knock it. You know, the Brewmate one that locks, or maybe it's the Hydro Jug one. I don't know. There's one that locks and doesn't leak when you like tip it over. And I'm just
this brand does too, the same thing.
It doesn't leak?
Yeah.
Turn it over right now.
Well, mine specifically, they have,
Yeah, do it right now. Whoa, wait, it came out. It came out. Some of it came out.
They have a cup that what you're talking about.
That's what I'm saying, is that I feel like the FOMO and the purchase FOMO of being trendy always comes around to bite me because this happens. This happens every time.
Failed. Simply Modern, you failed.
You get better products when you wait. Like, you get better. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but I feel like that price for what I get from a Stanley, I could have waited and got a better product.
Here's my thoughts.
Yeah.
I remember Stanley being around when I was a little girl. My dad with his little thermos and his coffee. It was green. And so to me, it was like an old school thing, like a vintage
Yeah.
top style thing.
Yeah.
And then it came back, kind of like Crocs. And all of a sudden, everybody was popping off about Stanley. And I'm like, well, what about Yetis and Hydro Flask
Yeah.
and all these other brands? Like, they all do the same thing.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, I should have waited because I'm not going to say I love this style of cup. Like, this is probably like my
Fits in my
favorite
cup
style
holder.
of cup. But there are two things. One, I wish that I had waited because people are always trying to one up each other once these things catch on. And so I feel like the one that doesn't leak is really awesome because it has
is.
done the ultimate one uppage. As we can tell by the table being wet right now.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I got one that was like way more according to my aesthetic from Hobby Lobby for $12.
Yeah.
Instead of the $50 monstrosity.
But can it withstand a fire and still keep ice?
I'd hope to never test that. True. I hope I never have to test that. But I don't know. It's like cute and checkerboard. And I'm like,
It is cute. I love it.
then I'm like using it. I'm like, what was the point of the Stanley? What was the point
It's
of it?
true.
And I think I bring this up in the context of save or splurge.
Yeah.
Because my goal, look at me, podcasters, my goal is to not fall victim to the trend of the newest water bottle that comes out in the year 2025. Write it down. Write it down.
New Year's
Hold me
resolution.
accountable. I will wait out the next trend. I will. Why do you make that face?
I didn't say a word. I'm trying to be a supportive bestie over
So
here.
I'm gonna. This is a preemptive save for both me and past Carol. I wish I had saved.
Yeah.
On my Stanley because I also I look at the Simply Modern one which came out after Stanley.
Yep.
I think they're so much cuter because they're all like one color. Yeah. So I'm gonna try to wait out the next fad.
I'm proud of you.
Thank
it's a
you.
big step for you.
And I'm gonna try.
I'm gonna try.
I'm shaking. I'm gonna try.
That's a big step.
Yeah.
I love that for you.
I guess we'll see how I do.
I agree with you. I'm gonna say save too because there's so many alternative versions out there.
Yeah. But when they were at the peak, would I have said that? No, I would have said
No.
splurge. I would have
I
said
remember, like-
my big orange Stan, but I left my big orange Stan at the peak
no.
of Stanley at a Nashville hotel from a wedding I was visiting, and I called them crying and had them mail it back.
And they did?
They did.
Okay, good
Yeah.
customer service.
Yeah, no, they were awesome. But like that's
Did they
how,
think you were crazy? Maybe?
No, it was the peak of Stanley season. They understood.
They knew the assignment and they completed it.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. And then I
my
got it in the
gosh.
mail and it was so dramatic, but I was like, I can't believe I spent $50 on this cup and then I left it in Nashville.
Hence why you might need to save for a different one.
Yeah, save your money. Don't get emotionally attached to cups.
It's a thing though. Like,
Yeah.
I love my metal cups too. I can't say much.
Yeah, I have an emotional support water bottle for sure.
We all do.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Yes. I love a metal cup. Like,
Okay.
It doesn't matter what kind.
Well, enough about me crying about my Stanley. What about what about your weekly money win?
Okay. So my weekly win is another app.
Oh,
Yeah, you're going to love it. So we have some coworkers
Stop.
that have turned us on to the app Finch. And it's this like,
it's a bird.
it's a little bird,
tried.
mental health guy that you do task and he gets clothes or you can make their birdhouse beautiful. Here's my money win.
Yeah.
I have not spent any money yet on this app.
Oh, that is a big win.
Yeah.
Because that is not a win I can declare.
But it's
That
the best
is not
app.
a win I can declare for myself.
It brings me so much happiness.
Oh, that's so funny. I
Yeah.
love that. So you haven't gone to the Plus membership yet?
Well, I did my trial version.
Yeah. And you canceled it?
And I canceled and did not use it. And I've only been using just the base of the app, which is still good.
Yeah.
You can still do it.
You can.
But I love the little app. Every morning I wake up, I check on my little, I named it Jelly Bean, my little Jelly Bean Finch.
Mine's name is Cheesecake.
You have one. Our whole team at this point that we work
Yeah,
with.
all
has-
coworkers. I have friends who
You
I've-
send encouragement to one another. It's
so
so
fun.
great.
It's so great.
Yeah.
That is a win because I can't say that for me and for team members.
I'm the only one who hasn't
I
put
was
money
gonna say
behind
it
this
is
app.
not the same for some of us on the team. That is for sure. No, that that's a huge win.
Yeah.
I would say. Yeah. I love the app so much that I did pay for the whole yearly subscription because it has been so motivating. I am really impressed with it. It has changed some stuff for me, which I like.
Yeah. So it has things in it where you complete tasks, and the task, there's different ones. You can add tasks.
You can make your own journeys in it.
And so like what you do is like if there's something that you're trying to be better at, let's say drink water.
Yeah.
Or you want to be healthier or just have better positive thoughts, whatever. This little app, little birdie, you do it and you get rewarded when you do these things.
You like take care of your bird by doing the tasks, which is really awesome. But our whole team is on board with
and you've
this
somehow
at this
turned
point.
it into your new project management system.
I have. I literally put everything. I have a reminder in there for later today to call my mom because I have forgotten to do that for 2 days. It's like my personal reminder thing. Like I literally put everything. I put work stuff in there. I put personal stuff in there. I put self-care. I put to-dos. Like I'm putting everything in there. Every time I do it, I earn little rainbow stones for my guy. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like this is so motivating to me.
You're really getting your subscription yearly worth, right?
No, I really am. When I paid that money, first of all, I didn't mean to pay it. I just forgot to cancel my Plus subscription.
The trial, yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'm not going to fight Apple for this money back, so I'm just going to make it work for me. And I really have. Honestly, it's been awesome.
So
I use it constantly throughout the day.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with the purchase overall, but ask me again in a year, it might be the safer splurge item.
Might be back on the list.
Write it down.
Mark her words.
That and Stanley's, write them down. Hold me accountable in 2025.
All right. Well, we went off the rails over here. So we're going to wrap up today's episode. We hope you guys learned so much about credit cards, how to use them, how they work, and hopefully a few best practices to help you get started with your first credit card.
And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and maybe send us a message over on social media at tvacreditunion.com with your Finch friend code if you have one.
Yeah. And if you want to submit through email, I know, Caroline, you tossed it out earlier, but it's podcast@tvacreditunion.com. We would love to hear from you guys.
Let us know. And we know today was a hefty episode, so please ask us your questions on credit cards, or if you want us to cover something more specific about credit cards themselves, we would be happy to. And with all that being said, keep making those money moves.